محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما تحب وترضى وصلي عليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم انفعني بما علمتني وعلمني ما ينفعني وزدني علما. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك. سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just to do a quick recap about what we had discussed 2 weeks ago, because quite a few of you guys were not here last week. Right? We spoke about the essentially the 7 stages, or we spoke about the 7 evolutionary stages of the fundamental building block of the human being. And Allah says He has been created, خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. He has been created from dust. But the entire process of the earth element in man, which is the most dominant element in man, goes through 7 different stages. We can call it 7 stages of evolution. And this is the evolution of the turab into something which is now of absolute brilliance and beauty and greatness, and loses all of its, what you would call basic or basal or inconsequential and insignificant characteristics, and it becomes something worthy of mention, right? So the Quran goes in these stages, in this order here. خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. So the first stage of the element of earth is the most basic form, which is dust. Man has been created from dust. Then that same dust, right, evolves into what is called teen, because when it is mixed with ma, which is the second stage, right, when dust and ma, water, becomes mixed, it becomes like clay. So you know this. If you go to any area, right, and if you see some, the dry sand, you get that, they call it balu, right? It's not like river sand, it's not like sea sand, it's like coarse, it's kind of, you get this dust. When you look at it, it's like dust. But the moment you take a little bit of the dust and mix it with a little bit of water, for those people who have been living in the Plus here, Fatima, you live in the Plus now? Or there's the Plus people here. Right? For those people who live in the Plus, you see that the dust just flies. If you just stop that dust, and if you want to prevent the dust from flying, right, you just drop some water on it. The moment you drop the water on it, that same dust becomes clay-like. Right? It's sticky. Right? It's not just muddy, but it is a bit sticky, and it congeals with the dust. Now that Quran says the second level. So you have turab, you have ma, and then that turab and ma becomes teen. It becomes clay. And then on the third one, it becomes teen lazim. Right? It becomes sticky, clinging clay. Because if you put it into your hand, you notice, if you played with clay before, if you put that type of clay into your hand, you see the water coming out, right? And you feel the dust, the dust. And if you take it off your hand, it's almost like, it remains stuck on your hand itself. So it's still lazim, clinging clay. Thereafter, this clinging clay starts to dry. And when the clinging clay starts to dry, it becomes salsalin min hama'in masnoon. He says we have created man from a decaying, ringing clay. Now, if any of you knows ringing clay, which makes a noise, right? Literally like, it's hollow, right? Now, what happens is that when this clay dries, now if you've seen pottery, potting clay? If you've seen potting clay, the potting clay generally is stinky. If you see, especially those things that they drink that amahewu from and right? Now we're not talking about that when it's already been baked in the sun. I'm talking about before that. It has a yucky smell. It's almost like a decayed, fetid mud, which is still wet, right? So man, that's stage number 5. Thereafter, the Quran says, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ Am I going too fast? For those of you who are not here. The others are sitting there, we're doing Amokhtar, we're doing Baksaba. Right? Then stage number 6 is Salsalin Kal-Fakhar. We have created man from, again, right, smooth ringing clay. Now what has happened is that, now that the thing dried, what they did is that literally now it started to sand down. When it begins to sand down, when you sand it down, then it stops being so rough and it becomes absolutely smooth to a point wherein, right, it actually starts to shine. If you see some of the mud cars in India, inside it's still that rough, thing, but on the outside when they finish polishing it, right, it becomes like an orangish, brownish colored clay. You can actually, even the Africans do this, right? It comes like, like polished and like a smooth finish on it. Then the Quran says the seventh stage of the evolution of the creational fabric of man, which is خَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ or خَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ, is that إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. Then the Quran says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even refines the process even further, and He said, I created man from an extraction of that clay. So from that clay, which is now absolutely smooth and which is absolutely fine, you get an extraction coming out of that. Now when that extraction comes out, I gave you the example last week, if you see fine pottery work that many of these people do in the art galleries and whatever it is, that fine pottery work actually ends up becoming white. It becomes almost like creamish white. And it becomes so smooth and so thin and so fragile, yet so strong, right, that if you expose it to light, right, the light literally shines through it, or it becomes almost transparent. Okay? Do you understand that? So from basic dust, right, mixed with water to clay, and then the clay starts to now decay and becomes fitted and starts to smelt. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, thereafter, right, it becomes hollow, ringing, decayed clay. Thereafter it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then it becomes smooth, ringing clay. And then finally, an extraction from that clay, which can then be transformed. That extraction of clay can be transformed into the finest pottery material that you'll find, which is almost transparent and whitish, creamish-like in color. So Allah says that is the process of evolution of the basic building block of what we call the human being. Now I ask you a question. Does fire go through the process? Does fire go through a process? No. Why does it go through a process like that? Do any of the other animals go through a process? No, they don't. Allah went into so much of detail in the Quran about the basic, raw material with which man is made out of, and He went through the entire process of telling you this is the finished product from the raw material, and that's only a zahir wujud insan. Now what is very interesting, in the Quranic verses that I recited last week, you guys will not say last week, not my problem. Right? In the Quranic verses that I recited, I'll just read for you quickly. Right? خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. Right? Allah speaks about, He doesn't speak about, He said, إِنِّي خَالِقٌ بَشَرٍ. But when He came to the final stage of خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ كَالْفَخَّارِ, and إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ طِينٍ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. In the last two stages, or three stages, Allah speaks about man not in terms of bashar, Allah speaks of man in terms of insan. So in the first three stages, خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ, we have created man from turab. وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ مِنَ الْمَاءِ بَشَرٍ وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا إِنِّي خَالِقٌ بَشَرًا مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ مِنْ حَمِيمٍ مَسْنُونٍ. Every time Allah spoke about a certain stage of the evolution of the raw fabric and the raw material from which man is made of, Allah used a different term, which means the different terms refer to the different stages of man himself. Man is not only, like I told you, he has four names. One is Adam, who is the human archetype. One is Khalifa, vicegerent. Then in terms of his basic structure as a creation being, he's a mortal, bashar. Right? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he is man. He is insan. Now, in the stages of the creation of the raw material from which man is made of, Allah spoke about وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ مِنْ حَمَإٍ مَسْنُونٍ. In the last three stages, Allah didn't refer to the creation of man as bashar, but He referred to him as insan. Why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Each stage shows you an evolution of the human being as well in terms of his form. Now, inshallah, when I do that video, I will show that to you. Initially, what are you? What's your essential material? Right? وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. That's the essential material, right? ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ. Then it becomes nutfa. Nutfa is essentially water. Right? Again, can you see the link again? Teen, nutfa, ma. Right? Then, I don't know, I can't just right? Right? Sulalatin min teen, then it's nutfa. Then Quran says, ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً. Right? عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً. Mudgha is like a piece of chewed lump. Right? You say like a piece of chewed, it looks like a piece of chewed lump. And if you look at all of those stages, and you look at the stages of the building blocks of the human being, you will see that the material differs. That the zygote, in terms of its physical makeup, is different from the piece of chewed lump that it starts to look like. So as the human fetus begins to develop, the skin or the structure of the human also changes. So Allah used those terms. Look at Allah subhanahu. Right? Every time it was merely a what we would call a fetus with no life in it, and there was no real creation of, or no, there was no real development of the fetus in terms of the skin forming and all of the forming. Allah said, this is bashar. He's still in his bare building block stages, and the material there is not skin. It's like a piece of true lump. And then he becomes like a tadpole or whatever it is. Then when he starts to develop into what we know as a proper fetus, right? At how many weeks is that, Yasmin? 12. Fetus. A small one, fully formed 12 weeks. Right? Allah says thereafter, Allah starts using the word insan. Although the ruh may not necessarily, the difference of opinion on that thing, but Allah starts using the word insan. So in the creation of the human fabric from which we are all made, and in the process through which a fetus undergoes in order for it to develop, finally, before it reaches this final point of becoming the skin, is a very long time. And a child is born in its own unique microbiome. Your skin has its own fungus. Not fungus, what do you call it? Bacteria. It comes with its own set of bacteria. I would venture, therefore, I'm just correcting here. That's why you have your own scent. I'm not going to say skin. Right? You have your own scent. You have your own specific microbiome, which either makes your skin oily, or it makes it dry, or it makes it this. There's the dermatologist here. Why am I talking about all these things? Right? So that's your own thing.
It's that oil that's sebum.
The sebum. Right? So all of that comes out, and that's unique to you. So that's why Allah went through that there, because don't think that this epidermis of yours is just an insignificant thing. And this is where the uniqueness of Islam comes in. Right? Unlike any other ideology which regards this as zero, Quran says no. Even your basic building block is very important in the sight of Allah. He's taken so much of, inverted commas, care into its creation. Now, I just wanted to go through that process. We will go through the process of the creation of the human being at a later stage. But now I want to get into the history. Now Allah spoke about the 7 stages of the creation of the raw material, or the evolution of the raw material from which man is made of the Quran. Why did Allah speak about it? Why go through so much of detail? Right? Before, I gave you one wisdom behind it, but the important point I want to put across to you, which I'm starting off with today, is the history of the creation of the human archetype. And that is Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. And there is a lengthy history behind it, which you may be aware of, may not be aware. We only know the basics. So Allah said, I'm creating my vices, and that's all. Right? And we know Adam was made to prostrate, the angel was made to prostrate to Adam alayhi salam. Thank you very much. And then he was, he came back to God. No. There's a history behind it from the Sihai Sitta, from the 6 authentic book of Ahadith. So what I'm doing for you here is that I'm combining all of those stories together. I'll give you the references for each one of them, but I'm combining all of the stories to you. Now the question arises, from what material, what was the basic first material that was utilized for the creation of Adam alayhi salam? Where did it come from? Huh? From where? Noor. It came from Jannah. It came from Mars, Venus, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune. Now let me give you the history. Right? And this is narrated by Allama Ibn Asakir in his Mukhtasar Tarikh Dimashq. It's also a hadith which is narrated. Let me give you the hadith here. Right? That is in, it's a Sahih hadith. It's a Sahih hadith, and if I'm not mistaken, I didn't put the reference here, I'm sorry. But it's a Sahih hadith, and right from the Sihah Sitta. Okay, I'll look for it for you. Right? Now, the hadith states this: Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam from a handful which he took from the whole of the earth. So the creation of fabric of the human archetype is from planet Earth. But it's just not from one portion of planet Earth, it's from all corners of planet Earth. So, I don't know, in those days, in the 1980s, whenever people went to go to Mauritius, they used to come back with this one little thing there, like with the different colors of sand. You remember that one? Now you people won't remember it. You guys go to Dubai, get that thing written there, Dubai, in that popcorn hotel, the Washington DC. The Mauritian one, different colors of soil, right? And if you go to in South Africa, not South Africa, but if you go to end of KwaZulu-Natal, bordering Mozambique, you see that the sand is creamish in color, and then you just go like maybe about 50 kilometers, and all of a sudden you went like lily white. Almost like white powdery beaches, right? So the colors of the earth differ, right? You go to certain areas, the soil is actually black soil, right? You go to certain places, it's reddish soil. We get it here. You go to Cape Town, the soil is totally different. And nobody notices it. The best plastering sand is in Cape Town. When you plaster in Cape Town, even the plaster comes out grey in color. Best plastering sand. And if you look at the sand in Cape Town, it's different from the sand in Durban. You look at the beaches of Cape Town, you look at Umgeni. Umgeni is what? Umgeni is river sand, Baba. They don't get that type of river sand in other places. Throughout the world, you get different sand. So what happens is, I'm giving you history, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took a handful of earth from all of planet Earth. Now, did Allah come down? No. Now let me give you the history. Who do you think is the one who took the earth and the soil and from various parts of the earth and delivered it to Allah in, you understand, in the heavens? Wow. I'm going to talk all to you now. What an answer. Wow. Where you got that from? Oh, you ready? So, yeah, you have a talk on this. Oh, you guys were there at the talk. Yeah, he told me. See? So he still came by me, right? No, I'll give it to the answer. 1, 2, 4. 4 wives, right? So. Whatever it is, right? Okay. Now, let me give you the history. Okay, let's leave that for the time being. Right? Jibreel Amin is instructed by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, O Jibreel, descend to earth and get a handful of earth for me for the creation of Adam alayhi salam. Jibreel goes down. When Jibreel goes down, the earth addresses him and says, I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you take something away from me. This is, the earth says, this soil that is here too is an amana that Allah has placed on me as a planet. And I seek refuge in Allah from you that you should take and extract anything from me. So Jibreel went back and said, Ya Allah, he took refuge in you from me extracting anything there. Now, when he took refuge in you, how could I do this? So Jibreel left. Mikael comes up. Same story. Then, next angel comes up. Same story. Then Israel, right? He comes up. Malak al-Maut comes up. And the earth said to him, I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from taking that right, which Allah has entrusted unto me. So Malak al-Maut turned around and he said, I take refuge in Allah, right, from anybody who prevents me from fulfilling the commandment of Allah. From fulfilling the commandment of Allah. So he says, this is a creation of Allah. This is the command of Allah. The creation of Allah must bow down to the command of Allah. And therefore, because of his absolute obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and willingness to listen to nothing except the commandment of Allah, Allah appointed him as the angel of death. Otherwise, can you imagine what will happen here, Baba? Boss, 2 minutes, I'm coming now. You understand? But now, what does this also tell you? Come on, just extrapolate something from there. Jibreel Amin couldn't do it. Mikael couldn't do it. Possibly Israfil couldn't do it. Malak al-Maut did it. What did he tell you? Angels are a creation of Allah, but they possess aql, they possess intellect. Right? So they made a decision. They took a decision. They put themselves in two conditions here, and they chose one or the other. This doesn't go against the essential nature, which is just to obey the commandment of Allah. But Allah showed that Allah has endowed them and bestowed them with intelligence. So they just not, and it's not artificial intelligence, it's real intelligence. Unlike AI, the prototype of AI are malaika. Right? Unlike the normal, what we have as AI, these malaika can think and they can take a decision. And it's not necessary that the decision is always correct either. Because so far we've seen two opinions of theirs, which has not been absolutely correct, which is the opinion about man. And again, if you're using this example here, right, the opinion of Jibreel and Mikael, right, was that what Malak al-Maut realized, right, is something that Jibreel didn't realize. It's something which Mikael didn't realize. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Malak al-Maut, and Malak al-Maut is the one who brought the creation of Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. Then the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, so the children of Adam alayhi salatu are in accordance with the earth. Some red, some white, some black, some a mixture, also smooth and rough, bad and good. Right? Or the actual words of the hadith are, منهم الأحمر والأبيض والأسود وبين ذلك والسهل والحزن والخبيث والطيب. The actual words are, sahal means easy. Sahal means easy. The easy going, right? Sahal wal hazn, right? And well, they put it as rough. Hazn actually means, huzn means sadness, which means now, one is easy, they have easy personalities and this and that, they're not prone to too much of emotion, etc., 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 right? Again, we'll discuss that later on. I'm just introducing this topic. The humors in the body, you are either sanguine, or you are melancholic, right? Or you are phlegmatic. And what's the other one? Melancholic, sanguine, phlegmatic, and? Yeah, bilious. Yeah, bile. You secrete too much of? But I think Indians are more bilious. That's why we have so much alive and everything. Anyway, leave that out, right? So, and then the Quran said, وَالْأَسْوَلُ بَيْنَ الْوَسَالُ وَالْحَسَنُ وَالْخَبِيثُ وَالطَّيِّبُ. And they are evil and they are good. So the color of the skin is one thing, but also the various types of earth with which we were mixed and created with also creates a temperament in us. Now I'll get back to the theme lazim, clinging clay. What's clinging clay? Don't you find clingy people? No, think about it. You find clingy people. You have people who are like leeches. You have people out there who need emotional crutches. Or you have people out there who take up your space. I know whether you've noticed this. Some people have a tendency, right, that they will sit so close to you that you're like, okay, right? Now, for sensitive people, I'm using the word sensitive people, right? I can feel people's auras. Hey, please, boss, you know what? Get out of my auric field here, right? Right? I'm not an aura old. Forgive the pun. Okay. Okay. No, but really, right? And you have people who are clingy type personalities. Now, Quran spoke about so many levels. Like then you get out those people out there who are like don't say that. Decayed, smelly mud. Right? I'm not talking about the constitution. Right? But you see these people, who have this a degree of like, like they just creep you out. They just like creep you out. And you get those people who are hollow. And you notice this. The people who generally creep you out, right, who are very, when I mean hollow here, I mean they make a lot of noise. Right? And if you see criminals, think about criminals. You notice more often than not, these people are people generally speaking, I'm not talking generally speaking, who are generally very shallow people, hollow people, and their voices are very, it's like criminal. When you hear them talking, hey, it sounds like a gunda, right? I mean, I haven't heard one, soft-spoken, loving, gentle gangster yet. You ever heard of them? Hey, what are you talking? You understand, right? Then you get those people who are more refined. Salsalin kal-fahar, smooth, well-groomed, cultured, neatened, right? And their personalities reflect that as well. Right? And then you get those people who are absolutely nafis. Nafis means absolutely now. They reach a level of absolute class. When you see them, it's like, look at these people. These people are like, the princess in the Peace Story. You remember the princess in the Peace Story, 50 mattresses there, and she felt the pain. You understand? People who are very extremely raqiq. They are raqiq. The Prophet of Allah said, women are raqiq. Right? Men are like, No, I'm sorry to give this example. But if you look at it, in terms of how people are. If you see the leathery skins of the people of South Asia. What do you know South Asia? What's it called? East Asia, Far East. Right? It's like smooth, very hardened features. Right? And it's not necessary that they have no hearts, but if you see their personalities, you notice, and this is from nature now, right? Most of these people have high-pitched voices. Right? We discussed that, I think we touched on it some time ago. We have Sheikh Ibn Arabi had given, descriptions of what physiognomy. Remember, I had read some of those things there. Right? Each one is telling, Allah is telling you here, that even in your creational fabric has a lot to do with your temperament as well. You recognize people merely by their temperament. Arabs look different, right? And in terms of their skin, than the Turks do. Turks are totally different, right? Then the people from Russia look totally different. Then the people who come, those leathery skins, those people who live in these, like Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, they're not like the Russians. They're not like the Russians. Hey, what's the time then? Hey, come, let's go down. And then, of course, you get the skin heads. Okay, Bismillah. Just to continue from where we stopped, right? We're speaking about the creation of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. We already discussed where the raw material came from in terms of the creation of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Now the question arises, when was he created? What he was created from and where we received it from, we know, planet Earth. When was he created? Which day? Correct. Right? Now, let me give you the hadith as well. It's a very interesting hadith. Anyway, we won't get into that whole thing, right? The Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala who says, he said, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? He says, أخذ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بيدي فقال خلق الله عز وجل التربة يوم السبت. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created clay on Saturday. Allah created clay on Saturday. Okay? خلق الله يوم السبت وخلق فيها الجبال يوم الأحد. And Allah created the mountains on Sunday. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَخَلَقَ الشَّجَرَ يَوْمَ الْإِثْنَيْنِ, and He created the trees on Monday. وَخَلَقَ الْمَكْرُوهُ يَوْمَ الثَّلَاثَةِ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the things entailing labor. You know, the things that we don't really, are not very fond of. The word is makruh, they translate it very nicely. A word, things entailing labor on Tuesday. And وَخَلَقَ اللَّهُ يَوْمَ الثَّلَاثَةِ وَخَلَقَ النُّورِ يَوْمَ الْأَرْبِعَةِ, and Allah created light on Wednesday, or nur on Wednesday. وَبَثَّ فِيهَا الدَّوَابِ يَوْمَ الْخَمِيسِ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spread out the animals on Thursday, spread the animals out on Thursday. And then وَخَلَقَ آدَمَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ بَعْدَ الْعَصْرِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمْعَةِ, Allah created Adam alayhi salatu wasalam after Salatul Asr on the day of Jum'ah fi akhir al-khalq, and the last creation at the last hour of the hours of Friday, meaning just after Asr, right? You know that zone that you have between Asr and Maghrib, in the last hour before Maghrib, that's the time that Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was created, right? And this hadith is narrated through another chain of transmitters, etc., etc., etc. So we know the place of the creation of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and we know the day of the creation of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and the time of the creation of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, which is at the time after Salatul Asr, an hour or so before Maghrib. In fact, so to speak, that it would have been like, you know, as the sun is setting, right? At that time there, the Adam alayhi salatu wasalam takhliq was completed. Interesting. Now you know why our scholars spend a lot of time in ibadah between Asr and Maghrib of Yawmul Jumu'ah. And then the Holy Prophet ﷺ stated, I'm giving the not exact word, خَيْرُ يَوْمٍ طَلَتْ عَلَيْهِ الشَّمْسُ يَوْمُ الْجُمْعَةِ. He said the greatest day upon which the sun has risen is the day of Jum'ah. And he gave the first reason for it, فِيهِ خُلِقَ آدَمُ. Right? It is on that day that Adam ala nabiyyina wa alayhi wasallam was created. Another hadith states, وَفِيهِ أُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةِ, and it is the day that he was granted entry and he entered into paradise. وَفِيهِ أُخْرِجَ مِنْهَا, and it's also on the day of Friday that he was taken out of paradise. Right? And it is stated in one narration that he passed away on Friday. Right? And it is stated that Qiyamah will take place on the day of, on Friday as well. Right? There's not understanding for anything else. No. So that's the significance of Yawmul Jum'ah. So when we celebrate Yawmul Jum'ah every Friday, we are actually commemorating and celebrating in essence the Mawlid of Adam ala nabiyyina wa alayhi wasallam, who is the father of humanity. And it is a very momentous occasion, and I strongly suggest people that from Asr to Maghrib on a Friday, try to engage in ibadah. You know, there's a salawat which is on in most masajid, 80 duruds and so on there. And the Prophet ﷺ said, أَكْتَرُوا عَلَيَّ صَلَاةً يَوْمَ الْجُمْعَةِ, and increase salawat upon me on Friday, because your salawat is presented to me on Friday. Now, why did the Prophet of Allah say, Adam alayhi salam is born? Why increase salawat on me on Friday? I'll give the story next time. For the time being, we'll leave it for the time being, right? So, and he created Adam alayhi salam in the last hour of Friday before that, right? So, we know now that's one. Now, in terms of how long did it take for the mold of Adam alayhi salam to be fashioned? So, we know where it came from. We know when it was created, which day, and what time, right? But that's the completion of the creation. But how long did it take for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who creates with the, with the command of kun, be, and it becomes? How long did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take before He completed the creation of Adam alayhi salam? Well, the hadith states over here, this is Tafseer of Ibn Asakir as well, right? This hadith here, which is a Sahih hadith as well, right? It says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He said, لَمَّا سَوَّرَ اللَّهُ آدَمَ فِي الْجَنَّةِ تَرَكَهُ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ أَن يَتْرُكَهُ. When Allah fashioned Adam alayhi salam in paradise, He left him as He liked him to live. Which means Allah created the mold, and He left the mold. Right? Ibn Asakir narrates in his tafsir here, that he says the period of time. Now understand, this is not earthly time. Where is Adam alayhi salam being created in? Jannah. Jannah has Jannah time, but the period of time with which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left Adam alayhi salatu wasalam in mold form only. You know, ringing clay, sound ringing clay. خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ كَالْفَخَّارِ, in smooth sound ringing clay. He left him like that, according to Ibn Asakir, for a period that you and I would count on planet Earth in terms of time of 40 years. This is now in planet Earth time. It will be, the duration will be equivalent to 40 years. In heaven time, Angas Baba. But if you have to count it here in terms of experience, it will be earthly time, 40 years. Now what happens for 40 years? Just there. Who's there? Who's witnessing this? Malaika and Iblis. So Ibn Asakir states, right? He says, in this Bashar Surah, in the mortal form, in the physical form, he left him there for 40 years, according to heavenly time, not according to earthly time, not heavenly time, right? Right? Malaika used to see this mold of Adam alayhi salam, and they also became like curious and a bit fearful, right? Because they don't recognize, because it's not from their genus, it's not from the species of jinn either, right? Right? And Iblis was the one who became most fearful of Adam, because now he fears that he's got competition, right? And Iblis used to go, and whenever they used to knock into it, it would make a hollow ringing sound, and that would scare them even more. Where is this ringing sound coming from? This is not an animated object yet, it's an inanimate object, right? And Iblis with the Quran, that's why the Quran says, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ كَالْفَخَّارِ, from smooth ringing clay, because the angels and Iblis knocked on Adam and said, Baba, what's inside here? Right? And Iblis said, no, you mustn't be afraid of him. And then the hadith, now this is Ibn Asakir, so I'm going back to the other hadith now, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he said, لَمَّا صَوَرَ اللَّهُ آدَمْ فِي الْجَنَّةِ تَرَكَهُ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَتْرُكَهُ. Allah left him for a period of time in that form, right? فَجَعَلَ إِبْلِيسُ يُطِيفُ بِهِ يَنْظُرُ مَا هُوَ. He says, and Iblis, then what happened was that he would actually found him, roamed around him, would walk around him, to see what he actually was. And when he found him hollow from within, one of the scholars stated that not only did Iblis go around Adam alayhi salam, but he actually went inside. He's hollow, and jinns are made out of خَلَقَ الْجَانَّ مِنْ مَارِجٍ مِنْ نَارٍ, right? Their molecular atomic structure is different from human structure, but this is where the interesting point is. Why is man made out from sounding clay? Why did the Quran give the example of sounding clay? Sounding clay makes a ringing sound, right? I think it creates a vibration. It creates a vibration. And what are essentially, if you break down the human skin and the human, what is it essentially? Atoms. And what are atoms doing? They're vibrating. So at a certain frequency, if you can, what's the word? No, dissect. Detach the atomic structure through a certain frequency, then those atomic molecules will start to move a little bit. And the molecular, and this is how jinn, right, can morph into human beings. Because they can alter to a certain degree their molecular structure. And they can also have access, and by the way, it's the same with us as well. You do know that at Maghrib time, that's the time, the twilight zone for the jinn to enter into this portal. You are walking into a masjid. You are walking towards a masjid. Right? They are walking through you in a masjid, and you are walking through them in masajid. Are you aware of that? You have no idea. That is why children, that's why the Prophet of Allah said in Sahih al-Bukhari, keep your children indoors at Maghrib because the shayateen descend at that time. Right? Not all of them are good creatures. Some of them are evil creatures. Now what happens is that children are extremely sensitive. They are vibrating on until the age of, I think, 7 at theta. I think I mentioned this before, theta, alpha, beta. You are vibrating at a certain frequency. Until the age of, I think, about 7, children are vibrating at the frequency of theta, which is different. So now what happens is that they are more sensitive to the frequencies and the atomic structure of the jinn. And the jinns are also more sensitive to it. So what happens is that sometimes when their atomic structures collide, and we spoke about aura just now, right? And collide, and it's not part of my frequency, been affected by jinn. What do you mean? Affected by jinn? Some of their atomic particles got mixed with the human particles. Aha! That's why man is made of sound bringing clay. I'm not saying that this is conclusive, but if you look at the atomic structure, it's just vibrating. I mean, what are we? Do you know? Okay, stupid thing. What? Solid steel. What is solid steel? Solid steel is not solid, Baba. Solid steel is actually billions and trillions of atoms that are rotating around their own axis at such a speed that it gives you the impression of it being solid. But in reality, it is not solid. Therefore, when it's exposed to another element like fire, steel begins to melt. Therefore, did you ever wonder why steel can cut, a sharp blade can cut, and why a sharp blade becomes blunt? What made the blade sharp? What? Samurai. The molecular structure has changed in that. Therefore, when it's blunt, it can't do what it does because the frequency of it has changed. The earth that you are walking on right now, that you are standing on right now, is not still. It's moving, right, at an alarming speed that it gives you the impression that it is still, but it's not. Therefore, we put our sun into sajda and we connect with the earth so that some of the frequencies of the earth that are there, right, can enter into your molecular structure. Right? And you'll understand this just now when I come to this another hadith. So what happens to Adam alayhi salam? Iblis, one of the narrators said that he actually went inside and he saw that man was hollow. And now listen what the hadith states, right? He says, فَلَمَّا رَآهُ أَجْوَفُ عَرَفَ أَنَّهُ خُلِقَ خَلْقًا لَا يَتَمَالَكَ. He says, when Iblis went around Adam alayhi salam and went into, so to speak, Adam alayhi salam, the hadith said he recognized that Adam had been created with a disposition that would not have control over himself. So Iblis saw merely from man's external form, or the human archetype's form, and the structure and the material with which he has been made, that man would not be able to control himself. He will lack self-control. Therefore, Iblis said, I have one up over him. Because I know his nature better than he does. Because I've investigated him literally in and out. How's that? It's an extremely interesting history. Okay? I'm just touching on the history. Alright? Let's go to the next hadith. I'm just looking for the other hadith. Where is the other hadith? Yeah. That's one. That's two. That's three. 4. Okay. One portion of the hadith is here. The other portion I'll give to you just now, right? The hadith, yes, all these are from Sahih hadith from the Sahih Sitta, right? عن أبي هريرة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خلق الله آدم صلى الله عليه وسلم على صورته وطوله 60 ذراعا. Verily, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salatu salam, right? No, this one here doesn't even have this anyway. Okay. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam and his height was 60 spans. 60 zira. Now the human archetype is 60 zira, 60 spans. I would venture, I have no idea. Can someone check what a span is in terms of meters? I got my phone. Let us see, right? Span, span in meters. Remember? 1 meter is equal to 4.3744 span, or 1 meters. One span is? How many? 1 span. So 23 times 60, 23 centimeters? 60 spans. 1 meter is equal to 4.37 span. So 4.37 span is 60 span. 12 meters high. Adam alayhi salatu, the original human archetype, was approximately 12 meters high.
30.7.
I think it's 13.68. Why am I saying that? 1.361. Is that right? Unless I'm reading it wrong. What did you say? 13 point? 13.67. 13.6, yeah. So 13.618 is the golden ratio. So I think that is what way it would fall in that in terms of the golden ratio. Adam alayhi salatu is creating ala surati. And you know, see the Salafi guys don't translate that. They created Allah created Allah. Inna Allah khalaqa Adam alayhi salatu ala surati. Allah created Adam alayhi salatu in his surah. In his surah. Not to be taken as image. Allah is free from image. But what he's speaking about here is in terms of the golden ratio. You know, the what you call it, the golden Fibonacci in absolute perfect proportion. Right? 67 zira'an. Right? ثم قال no. And then the next hadith over here says that when Adam alayhi salatu created Adam alayhi salatu, then he says وَنَفَخَ فِيهِ الرُّوحِ عَطَسَ فَقَالَ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breathed into Adam alayhi salatu of his ruh, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِ, when the ruh reached, when the soul now is being blown into Adam alayhi salatu, remember it's the mold. When the soul reached into the nose of Adam alayhi salatu, Adam alayhi salatu sneezed and he said, Alhamdulillah. Now I'll ask a question. Has the ruh completely entered the body? It's only here. And Adam alayhi salatu sneezed and he said, Alhamdulillah. What does it tell you? Besides program, scholars also have raised a question mark without answering. They say, is the ruh the only animating material or tool in the human? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's the fundamental tool, yes. But it's not the only one. And can I prove that to you? But I'm using the word proof. Does the heart start beating first, yes, no? Or the ruh comes in first? Heart starts beating at the age of how many days? About 8 weeks. Qasam, I'm firing you all from Luchuri. Right? Isn't it 26 days, not 26 days? No, it's about 8 weeks, isn't it? That the heart starts to beat. There's a heartbeat. As early as 6 weeks? No. One of the first organs to be formed is a heartbeat. Come on, check it up, man. Never mind. We like you're not a pediatrician, we know that. Check it up quickly and tell me. Eight weeks, man. Must be about between 6 to 8 weeks. There's a heartbeat.
Yes, it's 22 days.
What didn't I say? 26 days? Thank you.
So there's a difference between a heart and heart too, right? So that's week 5. Week 5
Right. Yeah. Now we're talking heartbeat.
About 25 days.
Thank you. I was close enough, right? 26 days. Yeah, some people are a bit delayed and all that, right? Right? So by 22 days from conception, there's a heartbeat by 22 days. Where's the soul? Where's the soul? Still in heaven? So is that a functioning tadpole? No, the ruh comes after 40 and 16 weeks and so on, right? So what happened there? That's why the ruh hasn't entered into Adam alayhi salam, it's here. He sneezes. He says, Alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds, Yarhamukallah. May Allah have mercy on you. So that's why scholars put a question mark. The ruh may be the fundamental element in terms of animating the body, but it's not necessarily the very core and essence of life. Therefore, I'm using the example of the fetus, right, with a heartbeat at 22 days, but the ruh has not been blown into it. Yet you cannot deny that it is a living creature. Takbir. Right? Then thereafter, right? When the ruh entered into the eye, or the eye became animated now, right? Adam alayhi salatu wasalam looked at the fruit of Jannah. And by that time, it had already reached his navel, so the desire for food, which is now in your stomach and whatever it is there, which we call the nafs and so on there, was activated, and then he inclined, right, towards that. The desire to eat was created in him, right? And then when the ruh finally reached his feet, then he started to move towards those fruit. So the Quran says, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ عَجَلٍ. That man has been created in haste. The moment he's created, first thing that happened is, Adam alayhi salam saw, desire was created, and then he inclined towards the food. Now that's Adam ala nabiyina wa alayhi wasallam. We don't speak about the Nabi with that. Right? But you should know our children. The moment the child is born, right? Mama, baba. First thing the child does, it's a natural tendency in a child that the child will start to suckle. Simple. That's our fitrah. No one taught the child there how to latch on. In fact, the mother has a problem teaching, to setting herself up, right? And the child is like, hey, bye, come by. I know this thing here. How old are you? How old am I? And I've seen children getting irritated with the mothers. Because the child hey, bye, can you get the hang of it now? I'm hanging on there. Can you get the hang of it? Who taught them that? I saw, I haven't seen that. Well, I think I did, not directly. Right? I did see my son being born, but not exactly. Right? Dr. Khantam is standing in the back there. You don't see the rest. Right? I saw a calf being born. Right? Literally, the guy is pulling the calf out. It was in Midlands, right? Pulling the calf out. It was amazing to see. They used so much of sunlight. It's not funny, but anyway, right? Anyway, they pulled the calf out. The calf came out, full of the muck and this and that, etc. But after a few minutes, right, it just got up. And the first thing the cow did was his eyes are barely open. But the first thing that it went, how does it know, there's my mommy's others here, abhi doodh peene ka hai. You get it. It was unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Right? You see a ferocious animal, like a lion, right, being so tender with its cubs when it is born, with the fastest, the sharpest teeth around that will rip a human being into two, right? It's still so gentle that it picks up the animal, it takes care of it, it protects it. Man, you think what is this? Right, so anyway, before I get to another tangent now, so then the Quran says that خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ عَجَلٍ, that Adam alayhi salam inclined towards the fruit. So which gives you an indication that part of fitrah and part of nature is, and you see that in a newborn child as well, is that the first thing it is going to do, regardless, is that it's going to feed. It's going to eat. It's part of its nature. And it gives you an indication out there that there is a certain degree of awareness and what we would call intelligence in that baby out there, and like in any other animal for that matter, that is part or parcel of their DNA, that they know automatically that this is maybe what a system Allah has created. What a system Allah has created. That the child knows where its food is coming from, right? And it cannot be manufactured anywhere but from the mother. No matter how much Nestle tries, right? And no matter how much of nan you may be, right? You're not going to get what the mother supplies. And Allah creates all of that, right? Allah creates two wells for the child to eat from and drink from, right? With all the nutrition that it is required. Respectfully I'm asking, can any woman out here who doesn't have a child right now automatically, like, on cue, say, well, you know what, lactate, please? Ho sakta? I know there's sympathetic one way, sympathetic lactation, I understand. But can you just on will, right? Is there any process that is involved, right? Obviously there's some hormonal changes there, and then automatically it stops. Automatically it stops.
The baby is sucking that.
Yeah. That produces the milk. What is that connection? Do you know the amount of research the ulama have done in this in Mauritania and so on? When they spoke about, that sheep that came out with the test tube baby and everything inside there. They said, would it be possible to clone a human? They said, even if you clone the human physically, right? It's just not the animation of the body and what we would call the soul that will create that contact. He says the transmission that takes place between mother and child through the process of touch, right? And not necessarily suckling, but with the child just being in contact with the mother. And there is so much of transmission that takes place between mother and child at that moment out there that it shapes the child, right? With all of these things firing in its brain more than anything else. And the process of transmission of knowledge starts there. They say the look that the mother gives to the child. And have you noticed this there? Mother, when she's feeding, she's not doing this. She looks at the child. There's a transmission which takes place from here. I'm just using a certain point, which is transmitted to the child. And where it is, generally, you'll see even by nature. I haven't seen many, I only got one right? I don't mean that in a bad way. Have you seen mothers who naturally feed the baby from the left? I don't know whether you noticed this. When people pick up a baby, they don't start off like this side. They always start off, not always, but generally the general tendency is going this way. Why? The qalb, Papa. The qalb. The heart is here. The heart is here. A child will not sleep on the side of the mother. It's automatic. I think I gave you this example. Even your 5 fingers are connected to your senses. Anyone dug in their nose with their baby finger before? Have you dug your finger? Naturally, what do children do? Naturally, what they do? No one sucks their middle finger. Right? If you want to clean your ears, which one do you use? Did you see that? There, you want to wipe your eyes. Natural. Suck thumb. 5 senses connected to 5 fingers. Who taught you that? That's all fitra. That's all fitra. The mother and the child connect by their scent. The child recognizes the mother by the scent within the first 30 seconds of the mother. And I don't think that signature scent is ever forgotten by the child. Somewhere subconsciously the child will remember that signature scent. What is that? That's Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. That's human archetype. Hey, too much of Hannah. Bismillah ar-Rahman alhamdulillah rabbil alamin salatu wassalamu ala rasulih min anbiya al-mursalin sayyidina wa nabiyina wa habibina wa shafi'ina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. اللهم انفعني بما علمتني وعلمني ما ينفعني وزدني علما اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay, we continue the history of Adam alayhi salam and the creation. Because it's a pity. I get irritated sometimes. Why don't our teachers teach these things? The story of Adam, and these are from Sahih Ahadith. These are not stories, Qissa. These are from Sahih Ahadith. But it gives you so much of context into the creation of Adam, the history of Adam. Adam just sat in Jannah, they're doing what? Nothing. Sitting doing nothing. You understand? Okay, so we'll discuss all of this next week.